Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us on today's episode of the Real Estate Podcast. We are excited for you about our guest today, Haakim Byrd from Connecticut, one of our top agents in the United States and a top team leader with about 15 agents on his team out in Connecticut and New York area, and mostly Connecticut, but I'll let him speak to that in a minute. But welcome, Haakim.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for having me, Todd and Rich.
Hey, we are glad that you are here. And for those of you that don't know who I am, I'm Todd Sumney, the Chief Industry Officer for HomeSmart, and joined today by Rich LaRue, our Vice President of the Western Region in the United States, as well as the broker of our Phoenix brokerage here with 7,000 plus agents right now. Is that right?
Yep. And so hello, everyone. Haakim, happy to have you here today.
So to set the stage a little bit for everyone today, Haakim was pretty close this year to our Hall of Fame award. Our Hall of Fame award at HomeSmart is for those that sell upwards of around $40 million in real estate. So I'm going to say that if we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 diamond, Haakim would be around an 8 diamond, award winner. To give you all some perspective, but more importantly, he's got a great personality, a great energy, a great clientele, and a great team, and years of experience. And we're going to tap into that today, and we're going to ask him at some point too, what is something you can do right now in the spring of 2025 that he has done in the last 3 months that is going to go generate you business? But we'll save that for later. Let's just dig in though, Haakim. Tell us a little bit about yourself, about your team, about who you serve, what area of the country, and then kind of how you started your team, if you could.
Yeah, definitely. Well, first off, I'm coming for the Hall of Fame, just so everyone knows. I'm like a 7.9 diamond. It's like 39 million last year, something like that. So I'm definitely coming for the Hall of Fame this year. So definitely be on the lookout for that for next year.
Good. Love those points.
I do cover New York, Connecticut. It's about a 50-50, 60-40 New York, Connecticut. And if you don't know, I can drive 10 minutes and be in Connecticut or drive 10 minutes and be in New York. So again, we're kind of in that perfect area where we do a lot of business in both sides. I started back in 2017 as a solo agent with a regional, local kind of broker that was very, I don't want to say small-minded, but they didn't have an abundance mindset. And I met Chris one day, and he told me all about HomeSmart, and I kind of jumped on board. It started with just me and one other agent, and now we've grown to 15 agents over the past 7 years now. It's been an incredible journey. It all started by accident, and I think a lot of people have had this. Me and my wife, every night we would lay in bed and watch Fix or Flip or one of those Bravo shows, and everyone thinks, "Oh, that's easy." So you go out, you get your license, and you get a hammer, and you think you're a full construction team. And I ended up slipping into real estate by buying one of my own investment properties. And then I had a friend who needed me to show him a property. And I went from having a very part-time gig to selling 14 houses. And I'm like, wait, wow. I woke up one day like, how did this happen? Right. So, before that, in between, I had a corporate job. I was a VP of sales for one of we call them the big 3 banking banks. Won't say which one, but a very corporate job, did very well. And I kind of found my passion in real estate by mistake,
Love that.
Yeah, definitely. In terms of the team growing, the name of my team is the Byrd Pro Sales Team. And it's a funny story. I one day just said, I'm going to spend $300 on leads. And again, I had this big corporate job. So the gentleman that I worked with at this brokerage, His name was Prakash. So I made a list and I wrote Byrd and Pro, and I didn't know how to spell Prakash, so I just spelled Byrd and Pro, and I would shovel them leads when I was too busy to take care of them. And then I got another agent, and he ended up leaving the business, and I just ended up calling the team Byrd Pro Sales, and I just added a sales team to the end once we added another agent. So it was all this started by accident. It all started with a $300 investment, and it has grown into, we've done 100+ deals pretty much every year since 2020. So yeah, it's
so talk about that a little bit, unpack that a little bit from a standpoint of sometimes agents will let's talk about that reinvesting into the business.
Yes.
So you started with an investment, grew it, and then but you reinvested back into it, grew it more, which has now gotten you to where you are today. Can you talk about that mindset of reinvesting or growing?
Yes. So what I did was every 10 deals I did, basically, I upped my spend about $500. So if I was spending $500, for February and March, and I ended up doing 2 or 3 deals, I would creep up a couple $100 every few deals that we did, until one day I was selling 60 homes, and all of a sudden I was spending $3,500 a month. Instead of buying a car or doing something crazy, I just kept scaling the business. And as I scaled, I was adding an agent pretty much every few months, who was coming into the business and had no leads or had no direction. I was able to, and I'm still able to. I always tell people I've had the Rookie of the Year 5 out of the last 6 years in our brokerage, because I'm able to help new agents hit the ground running, because most new agents come and they're clueless on how am I going to get my first deal, and with us, with the way we scaled and reinvested, we're able to keep the pipeline flowing even through the rough times.
So we have some of those agents listening today, agents that are of a similar makeup to what you described, but they don't have a Haakim in their life right now. So what would be some advice to an agent about how to grow, and and what does it take? What should they be doing right out of the gate? How do they become Rookie of the Year in their local area?
Okay, so there's a couple ways to do it. Me, where the way I came up, and I'll get in a little bit of my origin story. Listen, I'm a kid that grew up in the New York City projects. I didn't know people who owned homes. When I moved to the area I live in now, we didn't have family, we didn't have friends. So I didn't really have I don't have a sphere of influence, and not everyone does. But what I did do is once in a while I would go out to dinner, or I would buy something a little extravagant, and I tell those agents, instead of spending $300 on those Jordans or that steak dinner for the weekend, maybe look into investing into some sort of lead source. There's a ton of them out there. We won't get into exactly which ones unless you want me to, but there's a ton of lead sources out there. I would say invest in yourself. Take $300, $400, $500 if you can afford it, and invest it in yourself.
Okay. So
Haakim, I want to stop you right there for a second. I want to call you out on something. You put a qualifier there. You said if you can afford it. When you started investing that $350 or $300 a month in leads and in yourself, did you feel that you could afford it at the time?
My wife didn't, but but no, listen, it's never, I had just bought it, we were new homeowners, having our first, one child that came, a second was on the way. So no, I couldn't afford it. But again, what do you say? No,
but it's part of your business plan.
No risk it, no biscuit, right? Is that the saying? No risk it, no biscuit.
I like that.
So if you want to be successful in a business that's competitive or sales oriented, you have to take those risks. And again, $300 to $500, I'm sure you can find something you can cut out for 6 months that you're spending $300 to $500 on.
Okay, all right. The reason why I think that Rich and I are digging into this a little bit is because we talk about this all the time on the podcast about the fact that not only are we the chief sales officer, the chief operating officer, the chief financial officer, we're the chief marketing officer of our company, and you need to set aside some sort of a budget, and it's never easy to write those checks, to invest in certain things. But if you are doing that in the right things, it pays off. And you do need to invest in yourself and invest in your business with some marketing budget. We often ask, agents, about the percentage of gross commission income that they spent on marketing. And a number that it often seems to correlate when we're interviewing agents on the podcast is at least 10% of their desired gross compensation income, or the actual at the end of the year. So, upwards of 10% and even higher if you want to grow your business.
Yeah, well, it's funny you said it. So 10% it was definitely the number that I spend a little more now, but back then, so if I spent $500,
right,
I felt like $500 would get me one deal. And at the time, it was my average commission was $5,000 per deal, right? So it actually worked out to 10%, right?
All right.
So then then when I scaled, I said, all right, well, I'm an added agent. So every $500, I added an agent every pretty much. I go up $500 with every agent, or then add another lead source. Right. There's also lead sources you can sign up for that you can pay after you close. Right? There's a few of those. You just got to do some Googling.
Do you mind rattling off a couple of lead sources of different sources? And one lead source, I know you use the HomeSmart referral team and the lead team here. Working with Eileen Mitchell and her team here at HomeSmart. Agents, if you're interested in that, get connected with Eileen. And but yeah, lead sources.
Well, like you just mentioned, the relocation relocation team has been incredible, and we've done a few deals in the last couple months with them, and my team loves them, and Eileen is awesome. Listen, you got Realtor.com. You have Luxury Prospect. You can still get Zillow market in certain markets, obviously. There are a few more that'll pop into my head, but there's
City. I think you did Op City.
Op City.
Yep.
You got regular Realtor.com, or you can do Op City that you can pay after the fact.
Yeah.
If you're a team, and depending on what area you're in.
Yeah.
You look into Zillow Flex. You can pay them after close.
Yeah.
Again, those are a little tricky because it depends on your team, but there's a ton of them out there. You just got to do a little bit of research.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
How about non-paid marketing generation? Meaning instead of a paid lead source, what are some of the self-generated lead sources or lead marketing that you're doing? You don't know, open houses?
So we do open houses. We don't door knock. But we do drop. I marketed a whole neighborhood, created a small CMA, right? Like a CMA is going to be like 20 pages. I basically condensed a CMA to 4 pages, just vital information into it, printed out 200 copies of it, and picked one of the best neighborhoods in our area and just threw them on the driveway. We got 2 deals out of that.
So that I understand that, Haakim, basically what you're doing then is a market report for a geographical area. It's not a CMA on a specific property. It's what's going on in this zip code, if you will.
I actually got even more specific than that. What we did is this, right? So a lot of these neighborhoods in New York, they're either all colonials or all bi-levels, or they're all ranches, right? So basically we took the average the average sale price, and we basically took an average CMA. So so if it was a colonial, we dropped off this CMA. If it was a condo, excuse me, a ranch, we dropped off this CMA. And it was a wide range,
Sure.
but it was intriguing enough to have people call us, right?
Right.
So you had people call, and you gave us our results, and I spoke over the top of you. So what'd you get from that?
We got two deals, and we have about 3 people that we're working with that. Yeah.
So
Great.
potentially 5 out of 200 homes, 200 home area. So
Yes.
for some of you listening, it's a very similar variation of what Rich and I call the neighborhood report or the mini CMA.
Yep.
And you're farming an area, farming a neighborhood, you're serving the area. Hey, this is helpful, free information. I just want you to know what's going on in your neighborhood and that we're here to help. So I love hearing,
especially in these newer developments, right? So if the development was built after 1995, usually the houses are very similar. So you don't have to be fully specific. You just have to, invest a little bit in some ink and some paper, but and then just do some walking.
Okay, so let's get into some specifics. You mentioned you throw them on the driveway. Okay, really? Like
Yeah.
what, you put them in a plastic bag,
Yeah.
big envelope?
I'm going to show you right now. I think
I
I
want to
have
see
one.
that. I like it.
Let's see.
All right. All
I don't
right.
know if you guys can see it, but
Okay.
it's right here, right in the back. Like put it in a bag, twist it up, throw it in the driveway.
Okay. All right. I love it. Kind of like a paper route when we were kids.
Right.
Exactly
Yeah.
like a paper route. Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
Well, awareness and information and volume, the more that you do, the more that you connect with, the more that you engage with, the more that seems to transact, or at least transact with you. They're transacting with someone if they have a need. So it's that engagement and just doing more engagement. So I love hearing that. Love
Well,
that.
and being consistent, right? So, the big thing with my team is being consistent. Like we all handle a phone call exactly the same. We all handle a lead exactly the same for that work with my team, and we're being very consistent. So if this neighborhood that I'm going to do it for the next 6 months, right? So I'm going to keep dropping them, consistently persistent, consistent and persistence.
So how do you teach that? Or what do you have, team meetings? And
So I'll give you the structure, right? I have 15 agents. Within those agents, I have 2 what I call success managers, right? Because I'm one person, right? How do I keep track of 15 people? And I'm still very active. I sell homes and show homes and do listing appointments and everything. So I have 2 success managers. I break up my team into 2 teams. They report to the success managers. They do weekly one-on-ones. So accountability is consistency, accountability, and also accountability. They hold them accountable. We use a CRM. Again, there's a million CRMs you can use, and I know we just buffed up our HomeSmart one, so I'll give you guys a plug. So using a CRM,
right.
And we also use a system called Sisu, which is a accountability tool. But there's a few of those tools out there as well.
Can you spell that?
Sisu, SISU, and it's .co. It's not .com. Don't go to sisu.com, but sisu.co.
Okay.
And they track, how many phone calls they made, how many appointments they set, how many times they went out for the week, how many times, it breaks it all down.
So do you see a correlation between that activity and results?
1,000%. So it allows you to track KPIs, right? Key performance index, right? So indicator, excuse me. So I know if I'm taking a Zillow lead, right? I know that on average, every 35 Zillow calls I take, I'm going to have 18 appointments. And out of those 18 appointments, 15% of those people are going to be submitting offers, right? So I can I can track and forecast our success through these systems, and it has been vital to us growing our business and becoming, doing 39 million or 800K
But for your team
volume.
members, it's also giving them a little bit of a roadmap because it's
Exactly.
showing them that if you do this activity and then you have accountability along with it, and that's one of the biggest things that Rich and I see when we're talking with agents all the time is accountability. People don't hire a trainer to work with them at the gym because they don't know how to lift weights or don't know. It's more that accountability of somebody pushing them to do 10 more than they think they can do
Yeah.
by yourself, right? And so do you do a little bit of that with your team? Do you push each other harder?
We 100% push each other harder. Within CISO, it allows you to create contests. So we'll do team A versus team B. We'll do appointment contests. We'll do most volume for the month contests. I It was a couple years ago, but I challenged them. I made a goal of selling a house a week for 16 weeks. This was 2 years ago, and I did it. And they had to make 100 phone calls if I did it. Like, we come up with all type of fun
Right.
things to do and fun contests to keep each other motivated. And again, listen, sales is competition, right? And
Right.
if you're a competitive person, it can be really fun. So we try to make it fun.
I love it. Well, at the end of the day, too, it's about helping customers and serving customers. I know I spent some time with you in person last spring, and you were just telling me some of the customer stories about, people that you had helped,
Yeah.
buy, even to overcome hurdles or difficult situations. Do you have one handy story to talk about, because at the end of the day, what we do really is more about serving than it
Yes.
is about selling. That's not what we're doing. We're trying to help connect people and serve them, help them buy homes. So do you have a story that comes to mind just real quick about how
Yeah.
you
Listen.
and your
Yeah.
team do?
So again, telling a little, like I said, my origin story and coming from a place where very few people, actually nobody owned homes. So first time home buyers is like, it, I could get teary eyed thinking about it with the amount of first time home buyers that we've helped come from the the worst the worst places you could think of in the Bronx or Queens or Brooklyn or Manhattan, and get a yard. We helped a young lady who she had 7 foster kids that she had stacked up in like a I don't know, probably a 750 square foot apartment in Manhattan, which it was incredible to see the smiles on their faces, their ability to play in a yard and go to a nice school or be in a nice area, man. That's what it's really about, right? Like you said, it's about those transactions, those faces, those smiles that you get when you hand them those keys, right?
Right. Yep. I love that. I love that. All right, Rich, you got a question for Hakeem?
I have a whole bunch of questions, but I'm standing here, thinking about, okay, who's our audience, who's listening to this, and in which direction do we want to go? So you are basically 8 years into your business, Hakeem, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where did you see a tipping point in your business? Because I mean, you've literally gone from zero to knocking on the door of Hall of Fame. My guess is it didn't happen instantaneously. And if it did, I want to know, we all want to know the secret to that.
No.
But where was there an aha moment for you?
the,
Was there a point where you go, "Oh, I get it," or is it more looking in the rearview mirror, going, "Oh, I must have gotten it because this happened"?
no, you know what it is. 2 years into my career, that's probably when I really started using Sisu and consistently using a CRM, right?
Yep.
And I'm gonna go back to KPIs, right? Once I figured out the formula and the blueprint, I just kept following it, and I just kept being successful. And like you said, you try to tell agents, even listen, agents on my team aren't, they're not perfect. Believe me, they're not perfect. And I tell them, listen, here's the blueprint. I lead by listen. I believe I'm a servant leader. I lead by example. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to go out there and tell my people to do anything I wouldn't do. I go out. I sell more houses than everybody because I want them to know it can be done. Right. So I show them the blueprint. I follow a process every time, and I say whoever follows this process the closest, or the closest, is going to be the most successful. And it's very rare that agents do 100% of what I say, but the agents that do 60%, 60% of what I say are successful. You know, it's first of all holding myself accountable, right? And I have my success managers hold me accountable, and I hold them accountable, and they hold the agents accountable. So having somebody hold you accountable. So if it's your broker or even a friend a realtor friend that you can have an accountability partner, that's really going to hold you accountable. Keep track of your numbers, and once you find a blueprint that works, follow it. They're out there.
So you talk a lot about KPIs and tracking those numbers. What are some of the KPIs that you track?
So I track, the biggest thing I track is call to appointment, right? And then appointment to meeting the client, right? Appointment to meeting the client is the most important thing. You know, we'll take 1 million phone calls. We should be trying to make appointments with 65% of those people, but getting the people that the appointment to met, once you meet them, that's when you can lock. Obviously, you're going to get your buyer agreement. You're going to create that rapport. You know, I believe this business is always going to be a belly to belly business. So you're not going to sell a house from sitting on your couch. You got to get in front of people, and the more people you get in front of, the more opportunity you're going to have to make deals. You know, so Netflix is not going to help you sell houses. You got to get out, meet people, and show homes. So definitely the appointment set to appointment met is probably the most important KPIs I track.
Okay, so you're looking at calls made to appointment set, and then from your appointment set, the business you secure, correct?
Met with customer, and then we figure out of those customers we met, and it's usually they're all different for each lead source. So you can, like I said, through the system, you can track which lead sources, the percentages through the lead sources. But yeah, you figure out how many people you have to meet to make X amount of deals.
Right.
There's a formula for all of that. You just got to take the time to figure it out.
How about past customers? Where do they fit into your processes?
Okay. So it's funny, Reminder Media. I know we just started a relationship with them. I was using Reminder already. They were a great tool. People love those magazines, so we would send those every other month. We do quarterly check-ins with our past clients. We pick 20 of them, and I'll check in quarterly with all of our clients over the year. Client appreciation days. We'll rent out a movie theater and invite all our past clients to come. I think we did Black Panther. We did a few different movies over the years. We invite our clients to a movie event. Obviously we had COVID kind of threw some of that off, but yeah, we try to get in front of our clients and stay top of mind.
All right, Rich, I got a story to tell you real quick. So I took the train up the Hudson River from downtown New York up into New York to meet Haakim and Chris Carbone and Emily and the team there that run, HomeSmart, Homes in the States there in Hudson Valley area, Connecticut, New York, etc. So I get off the train and I met with a driver in a car, courtesy of Haakim, and no Uber, no, whatever. And so Hakeem, tell us a little bit about how you use a driver and a car for your clients to help you grow your business.
So I don't think I mentioned yet, but my goal again, we're trying to get a little bit more into the luxury market. So I invested because again, I'm a big believer in investing in your business. I invested in a custom Sprinter van. So we have a custom Mercedes Sprinter that we use to pick up clients from a lot of New York City people don't drive. So we'll pick them up from the train station and give them a courtesy ride in the Sprinter around to their showings and drop them back off. Depending on the price point, we'll go down to the city and pick them up if we need to, but that's having that has really helped us increase our volume. We're doing a lot more multi-million-dollar deals that we weren't doing, 3.8 million, 2.5 million plus all the time, in a market where our average price point is only about 400K. So that investment, which again wasn't a crazy investment, has increased our business tremendously. So when you get to a point where you can make those investments, listen, put it back into your business. It will come back to you. I promise.
Nice.
Yeah, that was a good example of reinvesting in your business that I thought, and I just, you shared with me so many different stories about how it's impacted your business, but also about the experience for your clients. I mean, Rich, it was pretty special. I mean, I was like, wow, I felt pretty special for a minute. I can't imagine what his clients feel like. So it was pretty neat.
That's a nice touch.
Yeah, it is.
It's definitely appreciated by the clients, and it's something that they don't see every day, and it's definitely something that has set us apart. And again, at the same time, it gives them a great experience, but it also has increased our a big part of our business. So
I recently finished the book Unreasonable Hospitality, and it keys in as one of those little extras that you do for your clients. That is, I mean, it is a little bit over the top, and it's not expected. Bravo, kudos to you. I think that's fantastic.
thank you.
So, tough question for you. Tell us about one of the school of hard knocks, things that you've learned that other agents maybe you could help them avoid. What's a lesson you learned that you wish you would have learned earlier?
Oh man, a lesson I've learned that I wish I would have learned earlier. The persistence part, right? Like things get difficult and sometimes you kind of give up on it. We have, like I said, we market these sellers and we go into these listing appointments, and sometimes we believe that a client isn't. I think we've all been through this. Believing a client isn't ready, and then 2 weeks later seeing the house listed. It happened to me way too many times where I don't ask. Well, years ago, a few years back, you kind of don't want to be pushy, so you don't ask for the sale at the end of a listing appointment, and it's nothing that hurts more than seeing $1 million client or $600,000 client list 2 days or 2 weeks or 2 days later with someone else who actually took the time to ask for the sale, right? So I think asking for the sale consistently in listing appointments, or asking to submit an offer with a client after a showing, I find that not all agents do it, and they cost themselves money by not doing it. So being consistent on asking for the sale, even if it's uncomfortable, it's definitely been one of the lessons I've learned and I've corrected to be successful in this business.
Good advice.
Yep.
Good advice. What do you appreciate about Chris Carbone and your HomeSmart brokerage?
Oh, Chris, listen, Chris is incredible, man. I'm coming from where I came from, being able to call him anytime, be able to, you can't forget Emily. Emily's the
That's right.
the thing that the glue that keeps us all, he keeps us all together. The they're them being there for us, them always willing to go the extra mile to make sure we have whatever we need. And just HomeSmart in general. I came from obviously a brokerage that wasn't 100%. So anybody who wants to build a team, being able to be with someone, build a team at a brokerage where you can offer, you have a 100% split. Well, you're not offering. Well, you don't have a split that you have to pay somebody else to grow your team. I'm able to pay my agents more than any other brokerage in our area in terms of a split because of our 100% with HomeSmart and the freedom that Chris and Emily gives us to run our team. So
Love that. Love that. How about a tech tool you can't live without? So you already mentioned, your KPI tool, but I don't
so
know,
I
something.
use and again, this is a national tool. I use a tool called Land Glide. I don't know if anybody knows that. It's a tool you could punch in any address and you can get all the tax info and who owns it, the exact pretty much all the tax info, the how much the deeded land, the how much is actual wetlands. It's a really cool Land Glide. I
Land
find
Glide. L
Land
A
Glide.
N LandGlide.
Yes, I
Okay.
find myself in neighborhoods just punching in addresses, just getting just getting information.
All right.
So
And real quick, I want to write down the KPI tool again one more time.
it's Sisu SISU.co.
.co. Okay, I got it. I got it written down this time. All right. Um, do you use RPR?
I am I, the system that I use for my CRM kind of has a lot of it, but I for Connecticut I do use RPR because it's in our MLS, and obviously I know that we have a relationship now with HomeSmart in general, but I do use it for Connecticut a lot.
Right.
Yes, it's a great tool.
Okay, so two final questions from me then, Rich. I don't know if you have a couple more, but I'm going to ask you one consumer question, one agent question. Let's start with the consumer question because it's also going to help other agents hear how you describe yourself. What can consumers and home buyers and sellers in New York and Connecticut and in the Connecticut area, even commercial too, because I think, do you do commercial as well? Yes.
Yeah, well, we
Right.
dabble. We
Okay.
dabble.
All right. What can your customers expect from Haakim Byrd and the Haakim Byrd team?
The best ability is availability. I am always available. Most of the time you'll get me, but you'll have somebody from my team anytime you need. We don't push people off because, like I said, being able to be there when the client needs us is very important. So the best ability is availability. I'll always be available to them.
Love that. To agents that are listening, best piece of advice that you could give agents about serving their clients and growing their business?
Serve, serve out of love. Serve out of wanting the best for them. Serve out wanting to see people. I the best way to gain wealth is through real estate. Serve out of wanting to see people do better in life and be kind. Serving out of love, man. That's how we operate our business.
And there you have it.
Love that.
I love that. All right, Rich, any final thoughts here real quick as we
Yeah, my final thought is after your time in the business and finding your level of success that you have found, What do you wish that you knew when you started that you didn't know? What was the thing that could have short-circuited your success had you known that ahead of time?
I wish I knew there was nothing wrong with starting a team, because when I came into the business, I was told that that was something you can't do.
Mm,
They didn't want me to grow, knowing that you have the ability to be two places at once if you choose to partner. And that's even if it's you don't have to even be a team leader. You can have a partner agent. Know that you can find like-minded people in your business that you can work with, and it will actually help you grow your business. Don't be afraid to share. We see a lot of that in our business. Have an abundance mindset. Having an abundance mindset has been key to me growing, because the more I share, the more other people share, and we all grow.
love that. Yep.
Too well, and that's
Excellent.
a great example. Being in two places at one time goes back to your availability. You're more available because you do have a team, and
Yeah,
and
Yep.
and you have the
leverage,
ability
right?
to do that. I love
Great
that.
advice. Great conversation.
That is great. Well, Haakim Byrd from HomeSmart Homes and Estates in Connecticut and New York. Tell everyone how to find you, how to reach you. Maybe a couple cities and towns up there in Connecticut if they want to come, meet up with you. Tell everybody how to find you.
Listen, Hakeem at birdprore.com. Send me an email. But I don't care. My cell is 845-863-4139. If you want to meet, talk, have coffee, share ideas, I'm always available. I'm looking for other people with that same mindset that want to grow.
Love that. Well, let's make sure you join the call this Thursday, and let's start doing the mastermind calls, by the way, with our other top agents. I'm going to make sure you get an invite. I really appreciate the time you spent with us here today, Hakeem, talking to all of our agent audience and on the Real Estate Podcast. So thank you all for joining us. If you like this episode, give a big thumbs up so that Hakeem can KPI and track how many likes he gets.
Exactly.
Thumbs up
There we
that
go.
he gets. Forward this to your friends. You know the intent of our heart is to help you professional agents get better at your real estate business and also help you serve your clients even better. And forward it to, just tell anyone in Connecticut or New York if they're looking to buy or sell, tell them all about Hakeem too. So Hakeem, thank you for joining us today.
Hakeem, great
Appreciate it,
stuff.
guys.
Thanks for
Thank
joining
you.
us.
Yep. All right, Rich, thank you as well, as
Yep.
always.
Thank you, Todd.
And for the audience, we'll see you back on future episodes of the Real
Thanks for
Estate
tuning in.
Podcast. Yeah, thank you. See you next
Thank
time.
you.
Everyone.
Like what you're hearing on The Real Estate? Tell your friends about us. Tell them to check out all of our episodes on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify. And don't forget to send any topics you want us to tackle to therealestate@homesmart.com.